To start off, introduce yourselves.
I am Álvaro, he's Martín, and he's Gabriel.
Sí, le da play.
Begin whenever you want.
Okay, so we've chosen as our presentation subject the Lockheed Martin F-35 fighter jet. We found it interesting, and so we're going to speak about some general specs, statistics of the plane, history, what made this plane come to be what it is today, some designs, and this plane has some variants, and then we'll talk about the costs and materials, the components, the maintenance. We'll then talk about some problems and accidents that this plane has been involved in, and then we'll compare it to some other aircraft.
First of all, I'm going to talk about the general specifications. The F-35 is a fifth generation aircraft which can be taken off from the land at the airports as well as from the sea at the aircraft carriers. Its main objectives are the air defense, ground attack, and aerial combat. It is an aircraft with half capacity for only one person, which explains its average size, with 15.67 meters long, 10.7 wingspan meters, 4.33 meters high, and another important characteristic of an aircraft is its weight. This F-35 has a loaded weight of 22,740 kilograms weight and a maximum takeoff weight of 31,800 kilograms. This aircraft is equipped with an Pratt & Whitney engine, the most powerful on the market. This is the engine, which produces a normal thrust of 125 kilonewtons, being able to reach 191 kilonewtons, thanks to the afterburner, which is a device which main function is to provide a greater thrust in specific situations such as the takeoff, the supersonic flight, and aerial combat. To conclude with this topic, let's take a look to its armaments. It has a 25mm caliber rotating cannon made up of 180 rounds. This aircraft can hold 4 missiles, and they can be of two types: air-air missiles, which can be short, medium, or large range, and surface air missiles, such as anti-ships or cruise missiles. Then, finally, it has capacity for two types of bombs, such as laser or satellite gated bombs and a B-61 nuclear bomb.
Now I'm going to talk about a bit of the history and development. This plane is a result of the Joint Strike Aircraft Program, that is a convergence of various US military programs of combat aircraft that merged in the decades of the 80s and 90s. There were two candidates to develop this program, Boeing and Lockheed Martin. They were elected in 1997. They had to make two prototypes, one of them with the traditional takeoff and landing system, and the other with STOVL, that is the vertical one. This plane was made in order to substitute one American planes that are the F-16 Fighting Falcon, the F-18 Hornet, the AV-8 carrier, and the Carrier PR-7 and PR-9. The the prototypes in Lockheed Martin, the first flight of the X-35A was in October of 2000s. After 28 flights, this prototype changed to the X-35B. This plane incorporates the STOVL vertical land. After this, in December of the same year, the X-35C, the last variant and prototype of this plane, was made. In 1 year later, in October, the Lockheed Martin won the program and started to make planes, whose first plane was made in 2006. And in this same year was given their name, the F-35 Lightning II, in honor to the P-38 Lightning, that was a very famous plane in the Second World War. In this program participate two main countries, the US and the UK. Apart from this, there are 7 countries that participate economically, that are Denmark, Australia, Canada, Norway, Turkey, Netherlands, and Italy. These partners and these countries have several problems during the fabric of this plane, because US and UK didn't give them so much to work, and they only have to do a bit of pieces. So they threatened to abandon the program, but they didn't work. Another problem was the high rise in prices that made some countries reduce the investment cost, and they reduced the amount of planes that they want to purchase. One of the missions, there are no missions because more than are classified, but some of them are. The two S-35A make an airstrike in Wadi Sea in Iraq, in an operation of the Joint Task Force, in the Operation Inherent Relevant. Another planes for the RAS 6617 Squadron, the downstairs from the UK, also participate in this operation, the inherent result. For example, in Norway, the 35 they make the missions, the reactionary missions, which consist in a series of missions to control the airspace of the Norway and NATO.
Okay. I'll be talking about some of the designs and the features of the plane, as well as the different variations of this plane. As Gabriel said, the initial design was made thanks to a competition between Lockheed and Boeing. The aim of the competition was to find an aircraft capable of air-to-air combat and a fighter jet such as the F-35. It's the successor to the X-35, and this competition also wanted to find a solution for a fighter jet capable of landing and taking off vertically, such as the Harrier, another plane. But this is the only plane in the world capable of vertical landing and supersonic speeds. So as I said, it was a design competition, and as this competition ended, they had the A model, which is the, let's call it basic. It's still one of the most advanced fighter jet airplanes in the world, which is called the CTOL, which means conventional takeoff and landing. Then there was a modification made to this one, which is the D class, which is capable of taking off in a very short space. As Lalo said, it's an important aircraft for aircraft carriers, so it can take off in a very short span of land. It can also land vertically. There is a thrust vectoring nozzle on the end of the jet, which can turn downwards and create a direct vertical thrust. There's also, you can't see it very well in this picture, but there are 2 exhaust nozzles on the side and a fan, internal fan, just behind the cockpit, that's another reason why there can only be one pilot. There isn't any space for a secondary pilot or co-pilot. And then there's the it's the C class, which is mainly used only by Canada. It's a foldable plane, so the wings have some hinges on the sides, so it can be carried, as well as in other planes, on aircraft carriers. It's not only an amazing feat of engineering, the actual physical plane itself, but also the software used. There's multiple languages of code used. One is actually C, so C is the language we use in informatics. And it has almost 8.6 million lines of code. It includes avoidance systems for missiles and air-to-air combat and radar evasion. Stealth is also one of the main characteristics of this plane. Not only the actual outside of the plane, also the aerodynamics are taken into consideration when talking about or designing a stealthy aircraft, because the actual disruption the wings create in the air can be detected by radar. So materials such as they're called radar absorbent materials, RAM, so that the radar waves are actually absorbed into the aircraft and not reflected. It's such a radar so proficient in avoiding radar that its RCS or radar cross section, which is the section in square meters measured by a radar, that's the size of a small golf ball made of metal. So it's very proficient in the tasks it was sought to do.
Now let's take a look to the cost of this aircraft. The F-35 project has been the most expensive in the history of the military USA. The total costs, including prototypes, research, production, are estimated in more than $400 billion. As Gabriel said, United Kingdom is the only associate of Level 1, since it contributed with $2 billion. Other countries that participated with a great help were Italy and Netherlands, which contributed with $1 billion. In spite of the delays and overruns costs of this project, the price of the aircraft has decreased considerably compared to the cost of the first F-35 produced, which was around $300